This is Joseph Attard interviewing Steve Bourie for rightcasino.com. Hi Steve, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Joey. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks, and thank you very much indeed for agreeing to do this interview with us.
Glad to be here.
So, I guess we should probably start fairly generally. Obviously, you're probably one of the most prolific gambling educators in the industry, but from your own perspective, I'd like to learn a little bit more about you and about your career and about your current status.
Well, I had been employed in the gambling industry for many years. Actually, it wasn't casino gambling, it was pari-mutuel gambling, which is slightly different.
Mm-hmm.
And then back in 1992, there was a proliferation of an expansion of casino gambling in the United States. Riverboat gambling had opened up, and Indian casinos had started to also open up in different states.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people knew that these casinos were popping up, but they weren't quite sure where these casinos were. So I had this idea to come out with a guide that would give information on the casinos, where they were. And back then, we only put information in on about 6 states, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
And what we did is through the years, we've expanded the book. It now covers more than 40 states. Back then, I think it was a 36-page pamphlet. Now it's a 496-page book. And actually, the book's divided into 3 parts. The front part has information on how to play the games. I write most of those stories. There's other people who contribute to the book. Then the middle part is information on where all the casinos are. And it has a name, it has maps, name, address, phone number, room rates, buffet prices, games offered, things like that. And then the back part of the book has coupons to save you money when you go to the casinos. We have 216 coupons in this year's book, and usually if you just use 1 or 2 of the coupons, you can recover the cost of the book. So it's sort of an all-around useful book for gamblers or anyone who likes to go to casinos.
So it's a brilliant casino guide that pays for itself pretty quickly.
I like to think of it that way, and a lot of people, we do get some of the same people come back year after year. They buy the book, they enjoy the book, and they also are able to save money because of the coupons.
Okay, so it'd be fair to say that the American Casino Guide has kind of evolved as you have.
It has, and actually, if you go, we sell a lot through Amazon. It's the #1 best-selling book on Amazon about casino gambling.
Wow, that's quite an achievement. Did you, when you first put the guide together, good few years ago now, if you don't mind me saying, did you intend it to be an ongoing project? I mean, did you envision that you just keep adding to it, or did you sort of design it at the time to be the most comprehensive guide you could?
Well, I had to keep updating it because each year there were more casinos popping up. Because originally, I think Iowa was the first state that had gambling, and it's interesting how the gambling evolved. Because when it first started, Iowa was the first state to offer gambling. And in order to make it more palatable, because it had to be approved in voter referendums, in order to get it approved, what they did was they required it only to be on riverboats. And the riverboats would go on like 3-hour cruises. And you were limited, when the cruises first started, you had to pay to get on the boat. You had to go on the boat for these cruises, which were like 3 hours, and they limited the amount of money you could lose. I think initially it was $200 loss limit. And when you would go to the cage, they would give you a voucher, so you couldn't buy more than $200. And then after Iowa did this, and Illinois said, "Oh, that works well," and then Illinois copied Iowa, and then they opened theirs. But I think they didn't have the loss limits. So eventually, this is how it started, and then eventually it expanded, where they allowed the boats didn't have to cruise anymore, because all these states, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, all these Midwest states, they were all riverboat gambling. Even Louisiana, and the boats, you had to actually go on the boat, and you had to cruise. But eventually, they got rid of all those restrictions, so now they're land-based casinos. But they originally started as riverboats.
That's fascinating. So there really was a genuine evolution of gambling. It sort of started in the water, then climbed onto the land.
Oh yes, very much so.
Obviously, I'm a little bit embarrassed to have to ask you this, but why is it that initially in the States, casinos could only be based on riverboats and couldn't be on dry land?
Well, here, traditionally, the Midwest states are rather conservative.
So I gather.
So it was easier to sell to the voters if they say, well, it's not a 24-hour gambling operation. People go out on these boats and they can only go out for 3 hours at a time. So they really can't lose a lot of money, and it was sold as low stakes gambling for people to have fun.
And I suppose if you don't like it, then just give them a stern kick and they float away. Don't like the party boat part near your town, just kick the boat and it floats off.
Yeah, and then they would say, right, it didn't affect the town. The gambling wasn't really in the town. It was on this boat that went out in a river or a lake somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. So it's isolated from, infecting
Right.
the community. Okay, so obviously you've spoken about the way that the American Casino Guide evolved and expanded and accumulated more information. Lately, of course, you guys have expanded into the online space with a web-based directory and a really popular YouTube channel. So, from your perspective and from the perspective of the American Casino Guide, how has moving your activities online affected your approach to educating players about gambling?
Well, I've noticed in the past, and actually also today, that there's anybody can automatically become a gambling expert. And they can just put up information and say, oh, well, this is the way it is. But there's a lot of bad information out there. So what we try to do, the information that we put in the book, and a lot of the information put in the book we also put on the website, is factually correct. So we've created this channel, American Casino Guide, at YouTube, and we have over 4 million views, and we just try and put factually correct information there. Excuse the phone line in the back, but we're here working at the same time.
Well, that's fine. You're a busy man, we know.
Okay.
Well, that's fantastic. And obviously, it's a fairly significant transition from authoring a book. I mean, have you enjoyed the video content? Do you like putting that together?
When we first started the YouTube channel, I did a lot of the videos myself, but since then I interview other people who are gambling experts. I know an awful lot of gambling writers that are experts in their own particular fields, so I interview them and put them on the channel. The most important thing is to get factually correct information out there.
Sure.
There's a lot of bad information on the internet, and we have over 4 million views, and we put out one video each month, and we just make sure that it's factually correct information.
I mean, as you mentioned straight off the bat, there's a lot of bad information online for gamblers. How do you, other than the fact that you obviously have a bit of a reputation that sort of precedes your website, how do you let people know that the information you provide is credible?
Well, the other thing I can do is give information on, well, let's talk about slot machines, because slot machines, there's a lot of bad information about slot machines.
Mm-hmm.
People say, always look for a hot slot machine, look for slot machines on the aisles, and years ago, what I did was I went to Nevada. I went to the Nevada Gaming Control Board. Mm-hmm. I interviewed the people there in charge of their laboratory. I've been to Gaming Labs International, which is the world's largest independent testing laboratory for slot machines, mm-hmm. and I ask people and I interview people. A lot of times, and I put this in the book that I've done this, as well as on the website. So and each year we go to the Global Gaming Expo, which is the world's largest trade show for the gaming industry in Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. I interview slot manufacturers there. So I do put in the time and effort to interview these people who create these games and also regulate these games. So a lot of people who put these stories out on the internet about the slot machines, they don't do anything. They do their research on the internet and read other people's stories. So at least I put in the time and effort to interview the proper people who have the expertise in this particular field.
Of course. I mean, our slot machine rules are slightly different in the United Kingdom. Most of our slot machines are run on adaptive logic, the compensated slot machines. I had a chat with Michael Shackelford, aka the Wizard of Oz, the other day, and we had a very, very long conversation, actually, where he was determined to work out whether there was any credence in the claim that you could optimize betting on British slot machines because they're mostly compensated rather than RNG. And he actually tracked down the patents, which indicated that there is a way that it is possible at the very least to optimize your play, but to really, as you say, there's a lot of people repeating a lot of the same assumed information online. You have to really go to the source to be able to ascertain whether any of that information is credible.
Right. Now, we've done, I think, about 6 interviews, 6 videos with Michael Shackelford, who's also known as the Wizard of Odds. We put that out there. And one of our slot videos, Slot Machines, How to Play and How to Win, which I did, was one of the first ones I did. But I get people on there who are from England, and they ask me about, how do theirs work the same way? And I say, I don't know. I really don't know anything. The videos in my the slot machines in my video that I refer to are U.S. Machines. Now, even in the U.S., there are some places, and I put this in the book, and you can also see it on the website online, there are some states where the machines work a little differently. For example, if you go to New York State, they're video gaming terminals, and they're run by the New York Lottery. And those machines do not work the same way as in my video. Also, if you go to Washington State, there are Indian casinos there, and those machines do not work the same way. And also, there are some states that have Class 2 gaming. Here in the U.S., we have Class 2 and Class 3. Class 2, sometimes you'll find in Indian casinos, and Class 2 is where you are playing against other players. It's not you against the house, it's you against the other players.
Interesting.
It's not a house bank game. And so in Class 2 casinos in the U.S., you're actually playing a game of bingo. And if you play a slot machine, you're not really playing it looks like a slot machine, but it's not really a slot machine. You're playing a game of bingo against other people in the casino. And the way you can tell is there's a bingo card up in the corner.
In the course of that fairly extensive career as a gambling expert, how would you say that American casino culture has evolved? And furthermore, how does it compare to gambling cultures elsewhere in the world?
Well, I guess since I started back in '92, what I said about how it initially was introduced on riverboats and somewhat isolated from, in the sense that you had to go out on the water and do your gambling out there, but then it was eventually accepted by the public as 24-hour year-round gambling. I would say that's mostly how it's evolved. And then again, around that same time, they started introducing Indian casinos. So there are a lot of successful Indian casinos in the U.S. But the market right now is pretty much saturated. I don't think there's any new states. Well, they are going to build in Massachusetts.
Didn't New York recently have a bit of a...
I think there's 5 casinos in Massachusetts are going to build.
Wasn't there recently a bill that made it through New York, the state of New York, to start constructing casinos in that state?
Right. I think 6 casinos will be added in New York. And one thing that's changed is Atlantic City used to be a huge market. It lost about half their business because casino gambling was legalized in Pennsylvania, which so a lot of people from Philadelphia would drive over to Atlantic City, so they lost that business. And then in New York, actually the most successful casino now is in New York City. It's Resorts World New York, which is at the Aqueduct Racetrack. That is now the most successful casino in the United States. It might even be the world.
How has that happened? I mean, how has a New York casino become more successful than any casino in Vegas?
Well, it's just the geographical location that it can draw all the people from New York City. A lot of people from New York City used to go, you'd have to drive to get to Atlantic City. You'd have to drive for about 3 hours or take a train there. And it's just simpler to, hop on a subway, and in 20 minutes you're at the Resorts World Casino. And most people, they don't really know the difference among the casinos or how they work, and they just want to go there and play a slot machine. Most people are going to go and play a slot machine, so if they can, from 20 minutes rather than taking a 3-hour drive, they'd rather do that.
So obviously there's been, even in this interview, and certainly across your work, an emphasis on the facts. And would you say that it's important that gamblers have all the facts? By which I mean, is this tantamount to leveling the playing field? Because we all know the truism, it's a cliche, the house always wins, the odds are stacked against the player. Is it the duty of people in the know to provide all the facts so the gamblers know exactly where they stand?
Well, we can put the facts out there, but a lot of people don't bother with the facts. Most people, they think, it's all luck. You go into a casino, and if I'm lucky, I'll win. If I'm unlucky, I'll lose. And they won't bother learning about, they'll go in and they'll spend, $200, $300 in a casino and lose it, but they won't spend any money to find out information about how they could be better as a gambler. And there are certain games where where there's a skill involved. There are a lot of games where it is pure luck.
Mm-hmm.
But even if it's pure luck, there are some very high advantage casino bets. As an example, craps. Craps can be a very good game. Craps can be a very bad game. If you stick with the pass line and the odds, you can lower the overall casino advantage to less than 1%. If you make a pass line bet and take the free odds. But if you bet to any 7, it's almost a 17% house edge. So you have to stay away from those bets in the center of the table. So that's an example where you have a game, and depending on the bet you make, you're either going to give the casino very little edge or a very high edge. And people say, well, it's all luck. I don't care. I'll go in there and maybe I'll get lucky and I'll win. But it's a cumulative effect, and it's very difficult to be a long-term winner when you're playing against the casino edge of 17%. It's much easier to be a winner when your casino advantage is less than 1%. So that is a part of the problem. People need to learn the different bets you can make and how to lower the casino advantage on the bets that they want to make.
See, I think it's interesting you talking about people almost willfully ignoring the facts and choosing to play every game as though it's pure luck. Even actually, when I was talking to the Wizard, he said he went to Vegas with his uncle. Not a great player. Apparently, they were at the blackjack table, and he was playing like an absolute novice and losing an awful lot of money. And Michael Shackelford said that he kept giving him advice on how to play, where to bet, what's a sensible bet, what's a chump bet. And his uncle apparently got really ratty and just went, "Oh, Mike, it's no fun if you just play by the book," which I thought was really fascinating. Like, people would rather not know everything, because to some people the entertainment comes from not knowing. The luck's more fun, the potential to win more successfully.
I think that's part of it, but let me give you an example here. Sometimes, in Europe, roulette's a very popular game.
Yeah.
And I have a video called Roulette, How to Play and How to Win,
Mm-hmm.
where I go over all the bets and give you the how to win. And the bottom line is, the only way you're going to win on roulette is if you get lucky, because there's nothing you can do
sure.
to change the house advantage. But one thing I talk about in the video is that you'd be better off playing a single zero wheel if you can find one, which is they're hard to find in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
But a single zero wheel, the casino advantage is 2.70%, and in double wheel it's 5.26%. So that means the casino advantage is almost twice as high on a double zero wheel. And I have been in casinos where there's a single zero wheel table. There's a table with a single zero wheel, and right next to it a table with a double zero wheel. And actually the casino was a Riviera in Las Vegas, which is a low-level player casino, and I think the minimum bet was $5 or $10. So and I'm looking at this. So one table, the advantage is 2.7%. The other one's 5.26%. And there are about 3 times as many people playing on the game with a double zero than there are with the single zero. And this doesn't make sense.
Well, yeah, I agree. I personally think there should be an unwritten rule that anybody who, when given the choice, decides to play American rather than European roulette should have all their money taken off them at the door. because it's just a patently ridiculous thing to do. But at the same time, and I've been told by people who don't gamble very often that I have to be kind about this, some people just don't really care if they win or if they lose. And I think that's fine. As long as they play responsibly and they have a set bankroll, that's not a problem.
Well, if they don't care, you're saying they don't care if they win or lose. I've heard stories that compulsive gamblers, and I've done an interview with the head of the National Council on Problem Gambling.
Okay.
And one time, I have a friend who runs a program for compulsive gamblers, and I went to a meeting once just to see what it was like. Because I originally thought, I said, well, these people, they're just bad gamblers. They don't know what they're doing. But it goes much, much deeper than that. Because I went to the meeting, I heard some of the saddest stories. I was talking to one guy, and he said he would go to a blackjack table, and he couldn't leave the blackjack table. He would sit there. He would pee in his pants because he couldn't force himself to leave the blackjack table to go to the bathroom. And I said, oh, my God. And then there was another guy who told a story about he had stolen money from his employer because he had a gambling problem, and he told his employer he stole, like, I don't know, $4,000 or something, and the employer forgave him and worked out a program to pay back the money, and then he told the story how he had to go back and tell the guy he stole another $4,000. So I mean, so there's more to it than certainly a lot more to it than being a bad gambler. These are people who have problems. But so in my book, and I know that there are people that will get compulsively involved in gambling. In my book, I put a chapter on how to tell. There's a 20-question quiz you have to ask yourself to see if you might be a problem gambler, and then there are numbers in there for resources you can call if you need help with the possible gambling problem.
Yeah, I spoke to a psychologist from the United Kingdom, actually, who's our foremost authority on problem gambling and addiction. And obviously there's a big difference between problem gambling and addiction. I mean, problem gambling is just if you have a problem with gambling. You know, if you spend too much money gambling, that's a problem. Whereas addiction has fairly specific criteria. But you're right, there's definitely more going on than just an unfulfilled desire to win or the inability to win because you're not a terribly good gambler. For some people, there is a chronic difficulty. A somewhat controversial statistic came out of a gambling expert who I won't name, who argued that 99% of people who claim to be advantage gamblers are in fact just compulsive or addicted gamblers.
I would like to know what he based that on, because I don't know who claims to be. I don't think there's that many people out there that are advantage gamblers. I know some people that are advantage gamblers, and I'm sure the people I know do not have a gambling problem. But I'd be interested to see where he got his information, were these people who claim to be advantage gamblers. It's been my experience that a lot of people, most gamblers in general, you ask them how they're doing, they'll say, oh, okay, I'm about even.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to say, oh, I'm about even. But most people don't track their wins and losses. If you are an advantage gambler, you would know exactly to the penny how you are doing.
Sure.
If they were claiming to be an advantage gambler, they would know exactly how they're doing, and if they knew they were losing money, I don't think they would claim to be an advantage gambler. So I would doubt that very much, that statement. I wouldn't think those people are advantage gamblers, because if they thought they were advantage gamblers, they wouldn't be playing if they were losing.
On a slightly lighter note, you've crossed a few different media boundaries in your time. You've gone in print, you've gone on the radio, you've gone on TV, you've shared information online. So which of those mediums have you enjoyed the most, and which do you think provides the most value to gamblers?
Well, I enjoy doing the videos. I think you can get a lot more information out there. And I used to write articles. I don't write many articles now. Mostly I do the videos. And I would, because originally I would write the stories myself, and then I found it, I got tired of writing. I mean, how many times can you write about blackjack, or how many times can you write about, roulette?
For sure.
So I found it more interesting to interview other people. I have some articles on my website, interviews, famous gambler interviews. We have a link there on the side to famous gambler interviews, where I interviewed at Stanford Wong, who's very famous in the world of blackjack.
Okay.
He's probably one of the foremost experts. So I interviewed him. I interviewed Tommy Hyland, who still runs one of the most successful card counting teams in the United States. Bob Dancer, a video poker professional. So people can go there and read those. And then after doing interviews with them, then I spoke to other people, other experts, to get their ideas on how to play the games and their opinions on what people can do to improve their chances of winning when playing these games.
And who made for the most interesting interviewee?
The most interesting interviewee, I'm not sure. Tommy Hyland was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
He's a very nice guy. He's still in Las Vegas. I see him every once in a while, and I would see he was interesting. And Stanford Wong, I would say, was also very interesting. So I would put those two guys up there. They were card counters, very successful at it, and they were interesting guys to talk to.
Okay, of course, the correct answer was Joe Attard from rightcasino.com, but never mind, it's fine.
I'll keep that in mind next time.
So, okay, obviously you're a fairly clued-in gambler, but would you say that for most people, it's fair to say that gambling should be primarily about entertainment rather than the desire to win? Like, should people go into a casino with the expectation that they'll lose and just sort of see their bankroll as a time limit on their entertainment?
Well, gambling should be about entertainment. Some people, like we spoke about, become problem gamblers. But the vast majority of people, they go there. Well, let's take. Well, I was going to. When I play, like if I go to Las Vegas, what I'll do is I will try and I will be in the players program at a hotel, and I will put my play in at the hotel. Let's say I lose $300, $400 in my couple of days in Las Vegas.
Okay.
Well, I know that the hotel I'm staying at, they're going to comp my room. They're going to give me free food. They'll give me free drinks. Once in a while, give me show tickets, perhaps. But what I try and do is I try and play in a break-even game with the casino. So yes, I can lose some money, but the casino will give me benefits back. They'll give me a room. I mean, I would have had to spend several $100s for the room. So if I lost $300 and they give me a free room and free food, then was I really losing? I don't think so. I sort of think it's a break-even deal. So, and locally, I have a casino near me, and what I try and do at that casino is again play a break-even game. They have a lot of shows. They have a big auditorium where they put on shows. I've seen a lot of wonderful shows there. And if I'm going to go and buy those tickets, they're $80 a piece for my $80 to $100 a piece. Sometimes as low as maybe $50. So every time I go, it's $100. So if I lose $300 in a month and I'm getting $500 worth of show tickets, did I really lose? I don't know. So I figure it's a break-even game. So that's what I try and do. Now, for the average person who goes into the casino, what I say is try and take advantage of these player programs. Don't bet more money than you want to, but don't bet more money than you're comfortable with. Just try and get something for free, but just go in, play the games you like to play, and try and get the benefits from the Players Club so you get reimbursed for your losses, and it really doesn't cost you a lot. And then you can go and you can have fun and enjoy yourself and enjoy some of the benefits from the casino.
So, I'm going to take you back in time for a minute here. Would it be fair to say that the success of the American Casino Guide was thanks in no small part to the fact that it contained odds and payout percentages for all Nevadan casinos?
Well, we put that information in there each year. We contact the gaming commissions to find out what the machines pay, and we put that in there. But actually, I think the thing that drives the sales of the book is the coupons, because you can save so much money with the coupons. You know, you can get a 2-for-1 buffet, you can get a free room night, you get free drinks, half-price show tickets. So, and there's 216 coupons in there. So that really is what drives the sale of the book. Now, it's interesting. There really isn't. There aren't that many sources. If you wanted to find out what the slot machines paid in all these states, you would have to go to each individual gaming commission and find out this information on your own. But we have it on a page on our website, and we also put it in the book, so you know which states have the highest paying machines. And generally, it's Nevada. Nevada usually has the highest paying machines, although. I think overall the highest paybacks now are at Resorts World, the casino in New York, and the reason they are so high is because they have a lot of video table games. They have electronic versions of table games, which simulate the actual table games. So if they have, well, they don't have blackjack, but they have roulette or baccarat or craps. So some of those are rather low casino edges, but it shows up in the statistics as being a slot machine, electronic gaming machine return. So that raises the payback percentage for the regular slot machines. The vast majority of the slot machines in the U.S. work the way that I speak about in the video, but there are some states that don't do that. So it's New York State, all of New York State would be an exception, all of Washington State would be an exception, and any Indian casino that offers Class 2 gaming, because Class 2 gaming is actually, again, it's you're playing a game of bingo. It'll look like a slot machine, but it's not really a slot machine. And what will give it away is in the upper corner, somewhere on the screen, you'll see a little bingo card that lets you know you're playing bingo rather than an actual slot machine with a random number generator.
Oh, that's fascinating. I think the closest comparison we have in the United Kingdom will be the link jackpots, the progressive slot link jackpots that are becoming more popular. Although they're actually, funnily that you mentioned bingo, progressive and link jackpots are becoming more popular in bingo. And the really funny thing is we're noticing that's changing the composition of bingo halls, whereas in the past it was usually elderly ladies who tended to go to bingo halls. These days you get young women, you get men, you get young men. It's broadened the clientele, if you like.
I would think here it's still little old ladies playing at their local church.
Obviously, we've spoken a little bit about the early history of gambling, but even in the course of your career as a gambling writer and expert, roughly 35 years, if I'm right?
That's correct.
You claim, and it's quite a bold claim, to have visited around 75% of American casinos. Is that about right?
I'd say that's about right. Yeah, well, it's easy. If you go to Las Vegas, you're going to visit most of them.
Well, I suppose that's true.
And I go there a couple of times a year, so... But there are concentrations. Well, if you go to Atlantic City, there's 12. But if you go to like Deadwood, South Dakota, there's probably about 30 there. They're very small casinos. Because one time I decided I was going to try and visit every casino in the United States. It was a bad idea, and I went to expensive and time consuming. This was about 15 years ago, I think, and I flew to Illinois, Chicago, and then I visited every casino in Illinois, I visited every casino in Indiana, and I visited every casino on the east coast of Iowa, and I got tired of it and said this is a crazy idea and gave up on it.
Oh, it's a shame. So the round the world casino tour came to an abrupt halt.
Yes. Well, here in the U.S. we probably have about close to 800 casinos.
Okay.
But they're rather spread out and remote. Some of them are a lot of these Indian casinos are in remote places.
Of course, yeah. Would you ever consider resuming your casino tour and doing the last 25%?
I don't think so.
That ship has well and truly sailed.
Yeah, but I've seen an awful lot.
I'm sure, but I've got to say, if I tried to do the same thing over here, a tour of every British casino, I could do that in a weekend. I mean, we just don't have a comparable casino culture. We don't have a Vegas, we don't have an Atlantic City, we don't have a Deadwood. Really, we're only just starting to dip our toes into the super casino markets, and even our super casinos are pretty laughable by American standards, certainly. I think we better wrap up, but I'd like to end with the question that I always like to end interviews with. Do you have any words of wisdom that you'd like to share with any player who might be watching?
Well, again, I would have to go back to the fact that if you go to a casino, number one, don't bet more than you can afford to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try and get carried away in these casino comp programs, again, where you bet more than you're comfortable with. What you want to do is you want to earn benefits for the play you were going to give the casino anyway. If you're a quarter slot player, don't jump up to dollars because you'll get more benefits from the Players Club. Just bet what you're comfortable with as your range for your bankroll. And then also try and learn more about how to play the games. There is a strategy to some games. For example, if you're a blackjack player, there's a basic strategy. You need to learn that basic strategy to lower the casino advantage. Some games, we spoke about craps. There's good bets, there's bad bets. Understand which are the good bets, which are the bad bets. What you want to do is give the casino the lowest possible advantage against you. And in the long run, it's much easier to come out ahead if you are making bets that give the casino a very low advantage of around 1% or less. So that's what you want to do, and it'll help stretch your bankroll.
Okay, wise words indeed, and very much in line with your contributions as a gambling educator. Thanks so much, Steve, for agreeing to talk to us. It's been a really, really interesting interview, and we really appreciate you taking some time out to talk to us.
Thanks very much for having me, Joey.
Okay, that was Joey Attard interviewing Steve Bourie. I'll include some links to Steve's website in the page below, so please go check him out, and especially check him out on YouTube, because the American Casino Guy channel is fantastic. So finally, signing off, this is Joseph Attard for rightcasino.com interviewing Steve Bourie. Thanks very much. Last time, Steve.
Thank you.